Today, I want to share a simple 3-step introduction that helps you add a spark of attraction when you meet a woman and create a strong sense of chemistry very quickly. In just a few moments, you can move past that invisible barrier that usually keeps interactions stiff and formal. The result is that she feels a natural sense of comfort with you, almost as if you already know each other. There's a subtle familiarity that forms, like you're not a stranger at all but someone she's known before. From that single moment of introduction, her eye contact becomes warmer, more focused and more charged. And the key point is this: you have to introduce yourself anyway when you meet a woman, so why do it in a boring, forgettable way? Why not turn that moment into something memorable that gives her the chance to feel a deeper connection right from the start? I'm Dr. Lizahart. Once you understand the importance of timing, the entire introduction process becomes much smoother and more effective. You're no longer guessing or forcing anything, you're simply responding to the moment when the interaction naturally opens up. When a woman is engaged, present, and clearly focused on you, your introduction doesn't feel sudden or out of place. Instead, it feels like the obvious next step. That's why recognizing that social hook point is so important. It's the difference between an introduction that feels flat and one that feels charged. When you notice her attention fully on you, that's your cue to move closer and extend your hand. You don't rush and you don't hesitate. You step in with calm certainty. Your body language stays relaxed, your posture open. As you introduce yourself, your tone remains steady and confident, not overly excited and not detached. This balance communicates that you're comfortable with yourself and with the interaction. Comfort is contagious, and she will feel it too. As you hold her hand, remember that the goal isn't to impress her with words. It's to let the moment speak for itself. Silence, when paired with eye contact and closeness, can be incredibly powerful. Many men feel the urge to fill every pause with talking because silence makes them nervous. But in this case, allowing a brief pause while you hold her hand and look into her eyes amplifies the tension rather than diminishing it. It shows that you're grounded and unafraid of the moment. This extended handshake works because it gently breaks an unspoken social rule. Normally, handshakes are quick and purely formal. By letting it last longer, you create a sense of intimacy that feels unexpected but intriguing. It signals confidence and presence. She may not consciously analyze why the moment feels different, but she'll feel it. That feeling is what sets you apart from most other interactions she has. As you continue speaking while holding her hand, keep your words light and natural. You're not trying to convince her of anything. You're simply sharing the moment. When you finally release her hand at the right time, it leaves a subtle sense of anticipation behind. The interaction doesn't lose momentum, instead it gains depth. She's now more aware of you, more tuned into your presence, and more curious about where the interaction could go next. After this introduction, everything else becomes easier. Conversation flows more naturally because the initial barrier is gone. You're no longer starting from zero. There's already a shared experience between you. You've created a small emotional imprint, something she'll remember even if the interaction is brief. That's the real power of this approach. It's not about manipulation or performance. It's about being intentional with moments that usually get overlooked. It's also important to understand that this technique isn't about forcing attraction. It's about allowing attraction to develop when the conditions are right. If a woman isn't engaged or receptive, you don't push. You wait. You read her cues. Attraction grows best when both people feel comfortable and present. That's why awareness and timing matter just as much as the physical action itself. Many men worry about doing something wrong or making a mistake. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being comfortable with yourself and your intentions. When you approach an introduction with calm certainty, most small imperfections simply don't matter. People respond more to how you make them feel than to the exact words you use. Another benefit of this approach is that it naturally positions you as someone who leads. You're not waiting to be given permission to connect. You're creating the connection in a respectful and grounded way. Leadership in social situations often translates to perceived attractiveness because it shows decisiveness and self-assurance. You're not asking the interaction to go somewhere, you're guiding it there. As you practice this, you'll notice that women respond differently to you. Conversations feel warmer. Eye contact lasts longer. Smiles come more easily. These are subtle shifts, but they add up. Over time, you'll become more attuned to reading body language and emotional cues. You'll know when to move closer, when to hold back, and when to let the moment breathe. It's worth emphasizing that this technique works best when it feels authentic. You're not acting out a script. You're adapting the approach to your own personality and style. The core elements remain the same: proximity, eye contact, touch, and timing. How you express them should feel natural to you. Authenticity strengthens connection because people can sense when you're being genuine. At the end of the day, this 3-step introduction is about transforming something ordinary into something meaningful. Instead of a forgettable exchange of names, you create a moment of presence and connection. Instead of staying safely distant, you bridge the gap in a way that feels confident and respectful. And instead of wondering whether chemistry exists, you give it space to emerge. When you apply this consistently, you'll find that attraction becomes less mysterious. It's no longer about hoping for the right outcome. It's about understanding how small actions influence emotions and energy. By stepping in at the right time, holding eye contact, and allowing touch to linger just long enough, you create a dynamic that most people never experience. So the next time you meet a woman and feel that spark of engagement, trust the moment. Step in, introduce yourself with intention, and let the connection unfold. Pay attention to her reactions, respect her boundaries, and stay present. When done correctly, this simple introduction sets the tone for everything that follows. If you found this approach useful, take it into real interactions and observe the difference for yourself. Growth comes from practice and awareness. Keep learning, keep refining your social skills, and most importantly, keep taking care of yourself as you move forward. Your trusted men's health advisor, and today we're focusing on how introduct ions work on a psychological and emotional level. The idea is simple. When names are exchanged early, it creates comfort and familiarity. When physical contact is introduced naturally, it removes distance. And when timing is right, that small interaction carries far more impact than most men realize. This approach is grounded in body language, social dynamics, and how attraction actually builds through presence and touch, not through lines or gimmicks. Let's start with why exchanging names early matters so much. The moment you learn a woman's name and begin using it, something shifts in her mind. You stop being just another random person she crossed paths with and start to feel more like someone from her world. Addressing her by name creates warmth and trust. It signals that you see her as an individual, not just a face in the crowd. That alone makes her feel more at ease around you. Familiarity lowers defenses, and lowered defenses open the door for connection. Now here's where most men miss an opportunity. When you introduce yourself properly, it also creates a natural reason to make brief physical contact. A handshake may sound ordinary, but when done the right way, it quietly breaks the touch barrier. The first moment of touch is powerful because it redefines the interaction. You're no longer just talking at each other, you're physically connected, even if only for a few seconds. That connection reinforces familiarity and begins to build subtle tension. The first part of this move starts with how you step in. You lift your hand and move slightly closer to her than before. Not aggressively, not awkwardly, but confidently and calmly. As you do this, you say something simple, like apologizing for not introducing yourself yet, followed by your name. Your hand is extended, waiting for hers. As you do this, your expression matters. A relaxed, confident smile works B. Saint, more importantly, you hold steady eye contact. Not staring, not darting your eyes away, but calmly meeting her gaze. Eye contact is one of the strongest tools you have when it comes to attraction. Sustained eye contact at close distance creates intensity. It signals confidence, presence, and interest. When you step into her personal space while maintaining that eye contact, the dynamic changes instantly. The energy rises. What was neutral a moment ago starts to feel charged. Without saying anything overtly flirtatious, you've already increased the level of chemistry just by how you're standing, looking, and speaking. After you give your name, you ask for hers. This moment is important. Because of social norms, almost every woman will naturally reach out and take your hand. It's the polite and expected response. Not doing so would feel uncomfortable, and people generally avoid creating awkward moments. There's no need to worry about rejection here. This isn't a test, it's simply flowing with normal social behavior. Once her hand is in yours, take a second to notice where you are. You're close, you're touching, you're looking at each other. That alone creates a mild but noticeable sense of tension. When she tells you her name, repeat it back to her out loud. Say it clearly. Repeating her name serves two purposes. First, it helps you remember it. Second, it reinforces familiarity. Hearing her own name spoken back to her makes the interaction feel more personal. It signals that you're attentive and engaged. There's a small adjustment you can make here that changes everything. Instead of immediately letting go of her hand, keep holding it while you continue speaking. You don't rush, you don't apologize, you simply keep the connection as you maintain eye contact. You might comment lightly on her name or make a brief, natural remark, all while holding her hand. This extended contact is what separates an ordinary introduction from a memorable one. Holding her hand for longer than expected creates a pause in the usual social script. That pause is where tension lives. It might feel slightly uncomfortable at first, but that's exactly why it works. In many cases, she'll continue holding your hand for several seconds because the moment feels interesting and emotionally stimulating. The warmth, the eye contact, the closeness, all combine to create a subtle physical response. You're not doing anything extreme. You're simply allowing the moment to linger. The key is patience. You don't rush to pull away. You let the connection sit. Eventually, you'll feel her begin to withdraw her hand. The instant you sense that movement, you release first. That timing matters. By letting go just as she starts to pull back, it feels to her like you chose to end the contact. That small detail increases the sense of intrigue and leaves the interaction on a high note. At this point, you've already created more chemistry than most men do in an entire conversation. You've established familiarity, broken the touch barrier, and introduced tension in a natural, socially acceptable way. All of this happened through a simple introduction that felt smooth rather than forced. Before moving further, an important question comes up. When should you do this? Timing is everything. Some people suggest waiting until a woman asks for your name, using that as a sign of interest. While that approach can work, it's reactive. A more effective strategy is to lead the interaction. When you take initiative early, you set the tone and guide the direction of the conversation. Acting with confidence shows that you're comfortable leading, which many women find attractive. You want to introduce yourself when she's fully engaged with you. There's a moment in every good interaction, Here her attention is completely present. You can see it in her eyes, in her smile, in the way her body turns toward you. She may start asking questions or responding more enthusiastically. That's your signal. That's the social hook point. The moment when the connection is established and your introduction will land with maximum impact. When you recognize that moment and step in confidently, everything flows more naturally. You're not interrupting the interaction, you're deepening it, and that's what makes this approach so effective.